want to go ahead and thank y'all for being able to tune in to one of our exclusive episodes here with Elevated Exchange. You've probably already seen other things I've done from Imperial Hustle, Resource Magazine, stuff with Freeway Rick, and the whole nine. And, we're really happy to be able to chop up game and give, just some informative insight on a plethora of different topics. And, one of the cool things I'd say right now that I got a chance to be able to go ahead and chop it up with a brother that I really want to be able to pick his brain and get into some good topics and conversation. Pengame Classic, thank you for coming on here, brother. I know we talked a little offline, but I appreciate you blocking out this time to be able to go ahead and converse and, go over a lot of things that I think are necessary right now, where we see the climate of just not even just music, culture, all types of things are taking, so many turns and twists, and I think people are looking for a little bit of light at the end of that tunnel. That guidance. So first going into it, I already know that you have appreciation and affinity for the music, the culture, hip hop, the elements. I can tell by the way the bars are constructed. The lyricism. Mm-hmm. So going into that, give me a little bit about, Pengame Classic, where you're from, where this kind of started, this journey into the artistry that you have right now.
Okay, and thanks for having me on here. Definitely appreciate that. The artistry really started just by, you know, family being really talented, but that was more singing wise. But as hip hop started to come in into play, just looking at, I know my father, he was playing Big Daddy Kane a lot. My mother was playing LL, and then I kind of stumbled into Nas on my own. You with your friends, you got your homeboys, and back then, guys rapping in the hallways, in the bathroom, rapping, or wherever we were at. So it was prevalent amongst the culture back then. Freestyles were happening all over the place. So it was kind of hard not to really be involved in the 90s. That's why we're kind of we cherish to the 90s. I mean, that you had to be alive to really understand like the impact of hip hop back
It
then.
was
Like
infectious.
yeah, you talk about social media. I couldn't imagine it back then because we never stopped. Like from the time you woke up in the morning, you were grabbing your Walkman, your CD. You met your boys. They had music, and they might have had a new CD or whatever. So that helped me as far as getting the wide range of music that I wasn't getting from my parents or from people close to me. So that was the different styles and different, hearing different artists rap and taking a liking into it. But Nas really opened it up for me as far as just letting me. I had a lot of interesting background with growing up in different countries with pops being in the military and stuff. So I
Gotcha.
had an appreciation for the stuff that was being spoken about, arts and just important stuff. So I like the intelligent angle and the bar and the way Nas wrote the bars and stuff and Big Daddy Kane. I knew that's the delivery that I can grow into, or the delivery that I can try to reach, because I felt like great things are hard to do. So I
Mm-hmm.
knew at the time, like, man, I'm not messing with these guys right now at no 13, 14 years old, but I can, if I want to work and develop, that's where I want to be at. So from that day forth, it just kept picking out styles and picking out other people. And then when I got to a point where I was able to start laying down music, then, you have people giving you confidence, like, hey, man, you should go really try to do some stuff. Didn't happen until I moved out to Arizona. My mother was out there, and that's when I ran across my man Juice, who's known as Richie Evans now. And I think he was still in a deal with Black Wall Street at the time with the game. And during that time, Game was one of the hottest artists on the at least your West Coast.
Right.
And Phoenix
Right.
is right there, so it was enormous to see. Even me not even being a part of it, but just being in Phoenix and being around Juice, and Juice took me under his wing a lot. He later had something going on with Amari Stoudemire called Apocalypto
Okay.
Records, and
Yeah.
that was something Amari put together for him. And Amari hired Grand Hustle to
Okay.
be a consultant for Ti, and him to be a consultant for Juice, because Juice used to slide down to Atlanta a lot when I was out there. So I did a couple shows and stuff with them out there. We did one in Casa Grande. Amari came through, and there was a lot of other stuff. But I got a chance to see right away at the highest level, from the start. And I had enough, my tape. If it wasn't for me giving Rich my Phoenix New Sun 3 mixtape, which is on my band camps and stuff, all those classic mixtapes that I put out, it probably, we wouldn't even probably be here having this conversation, because that's a staple. That moment in time was a staple. Like, yeah, I was gonna still pursue it, but I accelerated my process, being able to be behind the scenes and seeing this stuff and being around famous people at a young age and the early part of this. That kind of helped me know, like, okay, I seen all this, I've been around this. I had girls tugging on my arms, we walking and stuff, girls tugging on the arms.
Right.
Been through
Right.
all that stuff. Had people coming to me at what's the mall out there? Arizona Mills Mall, still standing today. It's like any mills, a mile wide, mile long. You go in a big circle. People, hey man, what up, Classic? What's up, man? Just knowing me just from that around the city. Phoenix is a nice sized city, so
Mm-hmm.
everywhere I was going, people were knew my name, and I was doing a lot of foot soldier work. I used that momentum, and then I'm linking with all the artists in the city, going to the best studios, getting invited for shows. So I put a lot of footwork myself
Right.
on top of network of being around Juice. I was smart enough coming from the outside. I didn't have any alliances. Like a lot of the politics in each city is the same. Some people don't mess with these people. I was
Right.
coming in like, yo, what's good?
Yeah.
So I
You
was
came
able
in
to,
with that outsider kind of.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Able
then
to
to
peep
have them
in.
stamped by the one that everyone's trying to reach. Everyone in the city's trying to reach this guy. I come in and I'm already there or step underneath, but I'm linking. Everybody can't get to him. I'm coming through. I'm the one on the streets linking and showing up in spots out there. Maryville, they got a nice little hood spot out there. Shout out Tazzy G. Shout out Boogie, my man Cameron out there over there on the west side. They, we did a lot of shows together out there, man, and those guys really showed me love. So it wasn't like I was sitting on my loins. I was putting in work. I was showing up and just rapping and doing shows and stuff too, but it just let me know that this is not why I'm in the game. This is not why I'm here. All
Mm-hmm.
that early let me know I really want to be great. I really want to be at the beginning when I started rapping. And I looked at Big Daddy Kane and Nas and those guys and was like, I want to get there because I've already seen all this. I've seen all this stuff. Maybe not getting the monetary gain just yet, but it wasn't going to be the burning desire to really push me over the top. So that
Right.
was the start of seriousness when it comes to doing music. That's where it started, and then it kept going. But that's definitely the staple where it started back in 2008, 2009, 2010 out there in Arizona putting in the footwork.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And I really like, that journey where if people really listen, you had this journey where you took from, like you said, you have Nas, you have the AZ, you have the Firm, you have all that. You have, that Queensbridge rap is really a unique, rap style. I'm sure you're familiar with like Tragedy, Gaddafi, that type of
Oh
thing.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
These guys are titans.
Yes.
And so when you are able to really absorb from that culture and that consciousness of the way that they've put together their rhyme styles, and it wasn't just about the rhymes, it was the content in it. And then so you go ahead and you travel with adopting a lot of that, and now you're on the West Coast. You know what I mean? And so where you see when you go to New York, you go to Brooklyn, you go Queens, you go these places, they build up high,
Yep.
skyscrapers. So the sound is significant to how the structures are shaped. And so everything is boom bap because buildings are right there next to each other. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
there's not a lot of space for it to flow out. Now, when you go out to the West Coast, more open land, things move, the vibration and wave is different. So when you catch that West Coast wave, you seeing a whole different lifestyle. It's Arizona, but people got AZ is still West Coast.
Yeah.
You still got that West Coast style, like how you said. At that time, Game was killing it. He was carrying West Coast on his back for a long time. And
Yep.
so now you out here, you've adopted the lyricism that you see, that you've gravitated to on the East Coast, and then you've migrated and visually are watching the life of the West Coast. Am I accurately kind of
No, you were right on the money. You
yeah.
were right on the money.
So now how do I blend these? How do I blend and tell this perfect story of what I'm seeing in a completely different coast in the way that I really appreciate and have an affinity of a rhyme style from this coast. You know what I mean? So I mean, what was that kind of like? You know what I mean? And I don't know. Are you from originally East Coast on the East?
I mean, you shoot, man.
I know you were
My,
military brat.
I'm a
Yeah.
yeah, but being both my sides of the family are from Michigan, so we were from
Okay, got
Michigan.
you.
I lived on the East Coast. I lived in D.C. I still have my D.C. number,
Okay,
202. So I've lived on the East Coast. I've been in New York. I lived in Virginia. But it was all during the military phases, so we were coming and going.
come
But
in and go. So,
yeah, so I definitely have a strong East Coast ties with not just my style, but let the audience know I've actually lived on the East Coast. So
right.
you're right. Really, to tell you the truth, you're really right. Yeah.
So that transition where you see, like, you know what I mean, and these are the pinnacles. Like, this is as separate of styles and lifestyle you can get from all the way on this coast, DC, to as far as Arizona. You know what I mean? So what
Yep.
was that like? You know what I mean? Now transitioning out there and adopting, like, okay, this is they get down out here, this is how they move, this is what's going on.
Well, it was pretty easy with a staple of with following the staple of the game. I watched what the game was doing because that you got to study where you work or study where you're at, and with Juice being a part of Black Wall Street, I actually had a homeboy before I was going out there. He was back then, y'all. We were buying the mixtapes early from people, man, and my homie had it. Gave him $5 for 3 CDs, a stack bundles, 2 stack bundles, mixtapes, and one was Black Wall Street Journal Volume 1. And it was right on I was driving to Arizona. My guy, Boy Dirt, shout out, was in Albuquerque, New Mexico, or Dulce, New Mexico. And I stopped and hollered at him on my way, and I heard that tape. So I was a student of the mixtape circuits and everybody that was out.
Right,
So I kind of knew what game was on, but I didn't have a vibe for AZ. So when
right,
I got to AZ and actually saw the blueprint, the layout, and the people and what was going on, and there was a lot of music conferences. They had a producer conference out there. So I was, like I said, I was doing the footwork, going out there, showing up at the convention center downtown
yeah.
AZ where
You
they
came
had
in
these.
when the mixtape circuit was heavy.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
real
mixtape.
heavy. But
Yeah, it was real
yeah,
heavy. People, this is why Dat Piff even had
yes, yes.
a buzz, is because that their whole business model was built off of something that was going on in the streets.
And live mixtapes wasn't even hot yet. It was
Right,
like he
right.
said, that Piff was end all be all. It was that Piff. Some of the
Hmm.
other mixtapes that later people know about sites weren't even popping back then.
Right.
So You had everything, and I think this that's definitely resonate with the younger viewers that are check it out. The best way I could describe it for them, because the older folks are already gonna understand where I'm going at it with this, is when you are on social media and you are, putting out whatever your niche is. I was able to get content. So when I'm out there, and I don't mean content by filming, I mean visually, everywhere I was going, things I was seeing, that was my content because I'm a
Right.
writer.
You
So I had
downloaded.
I had content to write about
Right.
because I'm actually out there doing it. So
Mm-hmm.
I needed to see things, and that's why I said that was a staple for me because I already was an elite writer just from school and knowledge and education purposes. I was already an elite writer from that point. Now you get into the music point, you're giving me all this material to observe. Oh man, and then I got a style that's predicated to like an East Coast style where the game is now hot over here on the West. Man, I always said when me and Rich talk, I was like, man, somebody should have invested in me a while ago. They would have had a nice longevity for their investment. I'm still kicking. It's 2026. Somebody
Right.
would have had some bread in their pocket because
Yeah.
I
See.
was destroying stuff back then on the mixtapes. I don't even rap about some of that stuff no more because I'm grown and I got children. But back then, oh man, it was I came out there like I was on Black Wall Street. Once I had my momentum, I would drop 100 bar joints. I would drop 75 bar joints, spitting just straight heat the whole way through. But I knew the land. I knew when I'm riding out in Zona. I live so far from everything out there too, so I had to drive a lot. I'm driving from Maricopa to Chandler. That's it, Chandler to Tempe. Tempe, then it's downtown. Then it's the west side. Then my
Right.
studio that I would go to, shout out DJ Rerun, is in Avondale. Avondale is far, way, 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 way damn near out west. Glendale, out west. So I'm riding and I just
Mm-hmm.
feel the vibe. So I knew what music. I knew at nighttime when it's about 100 outside, and you roll them windows down out in AZ,
Yeah,
you
that
feeling good.
AZ, it hit different. Man, I went out there. My cousins told me, I said, man, y'all got the pool out here, man. It's hot as hell. They said, nah, you gotta wait till night. You ain't
Yeah,
go
you
to the
see,
pool during the
yeah,
day. He said, you'll cook.
yeah. Everything is out. Everything is after that sun goes down because their
Yeah,
sun is like a sundial. It come up and it go down the same. You know exactly what time it is by
yeah,
where that damn sun is at in the sky. So you had to come out at night. That's where everything happened, and then we were out there cruising. I mean, the Mexican homies came through one of my boys' house. Man,
right.
they brought something I've never seen before. They had a 75 pack of beer. Have you ever heard of a 75 pack of beer, bro?
I didn't even know
It was a
that
75 pack of beer.
I
That
didn't
joint
know
was
that
like,
they got past. I didn't even know
bro,
there's a 50.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. They,
So
man, we
75 is
outside.
like, how about, can we do 50? Like, shit, 75. I'm like,
I couldn't believe, and I'm glad I got witnesses. My boy Bo out in L.A. who does
God
security, he
damn.
was there with me. So every account, I had somebody there with me to see, because I was like, man, I couldn't believe it. We're outside of my homeboy house. They got the pool, like you said, the pool out back. It's late night. The Mexican homies come through. Oh yeah, man. They had the 75 pack on the table. Then my man's his uncle's in there making some concoction with lemons and making some home, because they're from originally from Boston. So you got a lot of people coming from different
Yeah.
areas. He don't made a concoction with Everclear and lemons in the yard, and don't made some liquor. We going out to Scottsdale that night, me and Vo, man. Girls all, man. It was a ball, man. It was a complete ball. So my lifestyle is all in those tapes. That's why those tapes are so legendary to me. That Phoenix New Sun 3,
I
Phoenix
have
New
to look
Sun
it up.
4.
75
Oh,
pack
it's on
of
the band.
beer.
It's on my site, but it's
Oh,
I got it on the Bandcamp. So you have to go all the way down to the bottom of the site where it has
that's
the little
crazy.
icons. It'll have the Bandcamp icon. It'll take you straight to the Bandcamp site at the bottom of my site. But those tapes are that those tapes were like a documentary because I was actually
That part.
living. That was actually living. That was my fuel because I knew that's what the other artists were doing.
The
But people just don't have enough to write about. My skill set was that I was versatile, so I didn't have to just talk about street stuff or and all that. I'm working a job, so that ain't me. So I got to find what am I gonna do? It's a competitive sport. I'm not talking about no drug deals or whatever. That ain't me.
right,
I'm blowing back. I'm blowing back, but I ain't involved in none of that. So I got to find something to let them know. And then the Michigan in me, where we ain't no punks.
mm-hmm.
Rather if somebody is dealing or not, just because you dealing don't mean you're a guy that's intimidating. That means you got a business savvy about you.
Right,
But as far as letting somebody punk you, I ain't letting. And I think that's what people started to see. Like, man, this guy's a force. Man, this guy, he's about his business. He's respectable, but he ain't taking no mess either. So I just had all those dynamics working. I was able to really formulate my own type of style and brand. It birthed right there, man. That it really birthed at that point, using all those different things. So anywhere else I went and moved to after, I had a blueprint for how I wanted to do it. It just changed with the evolution of my consciousness and growing and getting
growing,
older. So whenever I reach a certain level consciously, now people talk about it as, oh, my downloads or a shift is coming. Each shift that I have reached in my life, because I believe I was on it a little earlier, thanks to people that I was around that put me on to information and studies that I've been last 10 years, man. I've been studying some of these guys every day that people are just starting to come across. So I was
right,
able to have multiple shifts, and during those shifts of life, fatherhood,
right,
first child, second child, my marriage before that, all these shifts, I had to go back and recreate me because
yeah,
I'm not gonna talk about the same stuff. That's why I was like Phoenix New Sun 3 and 4. Those are classic tapes, but I don't even rap like that no more. I got the same technique. I can do the technique, the structural part, like a coach teaching a player. Yeah, pivot left, go right, do the
right,
layup. I can do that part, yeah. But I'm not rapping about, yo, I'm out in Avondale and I got the shorty over here, and then I'm sliding through Tempe and I got the shorty there, like actual real things that was taking place, or we're doing this, the game's coming through. I'm in celebrity theater at the best studio, and I knew where to limit and how to navigate with the education that I had in the background that I had as far as in writing. So it helped me. Okay, what can I talk about? How can I expound on that? How can I, go deeper into these things? So it just morphed, and I'm always an ongoing artist. I'm never going to be the same. I'm always going to change where I'm going with my messages over time because as I grow, I change. I change my whole writing style. That's why I've been able to stay. People in other interviews ask me, man, how do you do this for so long, bro? And you're not even like a household name, but you sound like a household name. And I'm just
right,
like, I'm not motivated by what someone's motivated off of. I'm motivated by really the art of it. Like I'm like, dude, I go to work, I have a job, so that's how
absolutely,
other things get taken care of. But for this is really the love of it. And if I wasn't getting a good reception from people, I wouldn't even be doing it. So it's the
I,
people are the reason why I'm doing it. Because if they weren't, if they're, man, this is trash, this ain't good, I'm not gonna waste my time. I got two kids that are coming up that I'm
yeah.
active in, and I will love to participate in what they got going on. So this is taken away from my personal time to do these records. So it's worth it if people really still want to hear me and want me out there. That's why I pursue and keep doing it.
Well, you said, and I wholeheartedly understand and agree, and that was eloquently said. And one of the things that you did mention is where I don't think always artists, especially young artists coming up, they take in consideration is the evolution of self. You know, and that self improvement, the discipline to be able to have what they call mid course correction, where you see something that you may not need to go ahead and stay on that path, then you could bend that angle and go ahead and say, you know what, what am I doing here? I don't want to go down this direction, or I don't want to keep going here. And I think one of the things, especially, artists in hip hop, especially when it comes to black artists, some of the stuff that happens is we end up celebrating and feeling an affinity to have to promote degeneracy. And,
Yes.
we get the confirmation of that degeneracy from other cultures that gravitate to it, as well. Like if you got other ethnic groups that they fuck with hip hop, they do it, and they come out and be like, oh man, I've always been around, black folks, or always been around the culture, and I always been around this. But the first things they're naming is either drinking, smoking weed, getting fucked up. All the degenerate shit is always what is associated with them being around the culture. And then when somebody decides to say, hey, I ain't gonna really play into that program or that conditioning, then it's like almost they're not embracing the culture. When you look at the history of culturally what's been ours, when you look at, like for me, I came up in pretty much a traditional black home where, how it goes. I'm hearing Curtis Mayfield.
Oh yeah.
I'm hearing, soul, funk music. You know what I mean? And they're playing the whole nine. We're getting it all. Aretha Franklin, everything. So we're absorbing from that. But when we listen to a lot of, the Gil Scott Herons, all that type of stuff, what are they talking about? That was where the culture was pulling from originally to go ahead and get a lot of that fifth element of hip hop knowledge, the consciousness, to be informed. And somehow that's like what's pushed to the side, and the degeneracy gets celebrated, and then we're supposed to go ahead and step up and accept it. Even as we evolve, it's like evolve but still stay there, and it makes no sense. So I
Right.
like how you spoke on, I'm always going to change, I'm always going to evolve, where you can go ahead and see the degeneracy. And it's not about, I look at it like, if I was doing music still, if I always said to myself, I don't care if 3 million people all agreed on something that I saw was wrong. I'll stand by myself and be like,
Yeah.
I'll stick to my principle, and you won't sway me. I don't care how many people say this is the way to go. That don't resonate here. So you know what I mean? It's kind of like I saw when you were saying that, it made me kind of go into that whole concept of what I've been seeing. But one thing I wanted to, I guess that goes into it. Do you think like right now, like a lot of the young artists, do you think that there's actually a culture that's still shaping them, or they feel like they're more shaped by the algorithm?
They're definitely shaped by the algorithm. They're not. If there's few in between that are in tune with the culture, and as the vibrational rate speeds up and as more people become consciously aware of not only music, their surroundings in general, and what's going on in the world, like, that's when we will see a rise in that. Because I'm glad you brought that up, because that's one of the points I was keeping a note in my mind on one of the things that you said that prompts up another thing that needs to be discussed. And that is, when we find out that there's been quote unquote allegedly conspiracies that have been proven right,
Mm-hmm.
and we know, like, hey man, this was before like hearsay, now it's actually right. Why can't we do that with the music industry? Like, why as a whole, not the industry? Because hey, they're going to keep making the money the way that it's being made.
Right.
No
The
one's going to
industry is
change.
different than the culture.
You
Yeah.
can't get mad at these people if the artists or the people that are out there purchasing this stuff don't change, because
Right.
they're not going to change.
Right.
So all the industry stuff, whatever, it's on the artist and it's on the consumer.
Mm-hmm.
And back in the day, that's what it was about. Because I have, and that's going to go into the later things when I got with Cool Rock Ski and developed, relationship and work close with him. I got a lot of input to add through his voice and the things that we discuss with Cool Rock Ski, with because him coming in with the Fat Boys and
Right.
telling me, hey, they didn't even know they all the people thought, and he talking about platinum records with this group. You know, they were right there at Run DMC and LL. They didn't think hip hop was ever gonna last.
Right.
They didn't think it was gonna do anything. They thought it was just mumbo jumbo, blah blah blah. But now they are cashing in on it big time. So that's when I see like the younger artists, as far as being algorithm or culture, they are totally algorithm all the way, because culture is something where you got to stand on 10, or you got to stand on something, and you got to be almost controversial in a way. Hip hop's
Right.
always been that. You got to be whatever's happening that everybody's walking in wet in lockstep with. If it's wrong, hip hoppers are supposed to be like that one voice that's like, yo, forget that. We over
Right.
here doing it like it's a rebel game. It's a rebel sport. That's why when you hear people with that energy, people gravitate to it. When you got too much of this crap that when corporate comes in and takes over, they think, oh, we're just going to reproduce a product. We're going to reproduce a shirt. We're going to reproduce a Jordan, and we're going to sell it. It's going to
Right.
sell because we're going to put in marketing dollars. And we got this, and we got this, and we got that. They got all that stuff, young viewers. And the music industry is worse today than it was back then, when people had less resources, less money, and doubting the product. Didn't even know if the product would be around for 5 years. They
Mm-hmm.
got way more stuff, and it's gone down. So that tells you, and I know the reasons why,
Right.
but because there is, I'm just gonna spit one real no allegedly. There is definitely a force behind it. We've seen the Epstein files. We know how deep this thing goes. So keeping the vibrational rate is key, because melanated beings are at a point in time where the shift is already, you're already past the cusp. And I mean the two different ages. You got
Mm-hmm.
Aquarius, you got Aries. The cusp is in the middle of it. So it's not a, think of it as an energy. The new age energy is mixing or coming in contrast with the old energy, and that's why it's chaotic. We're in
Right.
pure chaotic mode right now.
What
Those are
they
the
call it,
vibrations.
thermodynamics is called entropy.
Yes, because it's all about the
Mm.
the magnetic field and stuff. That's why they
Right.
said this year the sun, and you see a lot of blocking of the sun going on and
Right.
stuff like that. From this angle or this particular information, those beings that are vibrating high are adjusting to the new grid on the new frequency that's coming
Right.
in with Aquarius. Then you got those. That's why when I hear that old that I call it that typical money making machine that the industry relies on musically, it's like static in my ears. Like I can't, if I hear an artist with the
Distortion.
same voice, same cadence, same as that stuff, it's like this to me. I'm like, oh, I can't, because I already know there's a hole next to me that's 100 feet. Why am I gonna keep falling into that hole over and over? I'm consciously aware that's a hole that's 100 feet deep.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go around that hole. Young artists are just falling right in that hole over and over and again. You know the system's bad. You know it's rigged. You know that there's an agenda against our people. That is so anti hip hop. A lot of these artists would say, "Oh, I'm hip hop artist." You are anti hip hop, because back in the day, that's something that y'all. That's something for y'all to write about, young artists. That's something. It was always revolutionary. It was always for the people. Y'all got a lot of stuff to write about today. Y'all
Yeah.
would be perfect. What we always like to tell you guys, that you guys are not 90s or eras that we grew up in. You guys right now have the best time to be artists and be creative. You guys can make a impact because of the world you live in and the material that you got around you. Like I discussed when I was in Zona and I had all that content. You
Right.
guys have a potential to have the dopest albums ever if you got the fundamentals down, your flow, your skill. You know, you got all that, and the stuff that go. You guys got alien stuff out in the open. We just had speculation. You guys got magnetic fields and sun blockage and rogue governments and reptilians and all. You guys got so much stuff to talk about,
But
so much stuff
classical.
to tap in on.
Well, classic.
And
Let's say, to be honest, first, everything you're saying, 1,000%. But the young people first, they have to be curious.
that's right. And they're not.
You have to be curious. You have to have an interest, a desire. You have to when we talk about the 90s, that music back in the day, it's not because people were so much better or so much savvier or anything like that. It was just closer to an organic presence. There was more soul that existed in the music. And I'm not just talking about soul with the marketing term. I'm talking about an actual frequency. You know what I
Yes.
mean? The vibration soul. Yeah, we had our bullshit music too.
Oh yeah. Every come
We
on.
had
We
that.
had our yes.
Yeah, we definitely, but there was more balance, and so you had more soul now, and the soul is a part of it that makes you curious because the soul yearns to experience. The soul needs an experience, new experiences, so that it can go ahead and export that to the conscious field. It's always going ahead and
Yes.
making sure it's transmitting that data of light. Here, I learned this. Let me upload that, and right now, that soul missing also leads to the lack of curiosity. And there's a lot of things that people call conspiracy and stuff like that. I don't deal with conspiracy theory. I deal with conspiracy fact. And
Yep.
that's what we got. We got conspiracy facts that are out.
Yeah.
And
There's no more
so,
theory.
yeah, no more
If we
theories.
prove something right so many times,
Right.
I can no longer come because if it was anybody in some that they stamp, they would be off reputation. Every time they say something, you got to take heed to it. So
Right.
you miss three after three times. Yeah, the truth. And I said
Right.
a track. I said it in the song
Things
one
happen in
time.
threes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I said it in a track. I said it's not a conspiracy if it's the truth, and
Yeah.
I wrote that in a track. So after it's truth, it ain't a such thing. Now that makes it where everything, as a knowledgeable mind, they teach you this when you guys are doing your reports and papers. Now I need to research more because something's wrong over here. That's what journalists do. That's
Right.
why we saw good journalism back in the day. There's still some now because you see people losing
Yeah,
their lives.
but it's a dying art because people are scared, and like you said, they
You're
losing
losing
their
their
lives,
lives, yeah.
and a lot of the things now are repetition. Where somebody, journalism today might be a man that speaks on TikTok. He took a snippet or an excerpt of what somebody else said in a video, and then he remade a video, and then he's doing something, and you know back in the day, I think that one of the differences is that you had to actually, if you wanted to get the game, the real deep game, you had to read. You had to go ahead and get the information. That's where the term comes. You want to hide something from a nigga,
Put it in a book.
right? Because literacy was something that was a powerful skill set, and being able to articulate what you were able to be able to comprehend and learn and know from these books and research. Now you can bring that to your people, versus getting somebody else that is oratorily telling you something that they heard from somebody else that they might interpret it, slightly off because they
Different,
didn't
yep.
get the source material. You Nobody's studying the source material, so we got a lot of people running around with half truths, and then dissemination of information that happens. Things start getting deceptive, manipulated, and like you said earlier, you said it's partially you got the industry, then you also got the consumers, where socially people have to also take responsibility for
Yes.
how they have decided to consume information, how they decided to go ahead and reiterate information. That's part of it. So I guess with how we see consumerism and the industry, I don't know. Do you see that where we go to how people are taking in information? Is there a change or a shift that you see anytime in the future happening? Because the consumption right now is happening by stream.
Yeah.
you know, and that's the way that people are. It's changed the way that their brain has actually been engineered, you know. It's changed the way that people seek immediate gratification, but it's also changed the way that the artists have to deliver content too.
Yeah.
So on those levels, how do you see this consumerism in music and the responsibility of the consumers, you know, and the streaming all in effect together?
Does I look at it? I remember when I had to tell people with just that's the one of the beauty of being involved in it over decade. You see people go from downloads to or physicals, downloads, and then it started moving into the streaming. And I remember trying to explain to people how to get on there and stream it. People weren't even savvy with that in 5 years ago. They didn't know, oh, I got to have a subscription for this. So I've been able to uniquely build, if anybody comes to my website or whatever, it is consumer friendly. My whole setup is designed for consumer friendly. I'm never going to put you in a situation where you have to spend money unwillingly or get manipulated by the system, because I'm conscious my consciousness. So how do we solve that? I have my own website where people can listen to the music. Yeah, I want money for it. Yeah, I have, but yeah, for the download version, you pay. For the CDs and vinyls, you pay. But you can go on there and push play and listen to the whole thing for free. So those that say, you know what, I think I want to get this brother some paper. This sound dope. There
Mm-hmm.
you go. Because I know that is a certain consumer. I'm trying to find those consumers because I know those consumers are from my cloth. Meaning, we'll listen to an album and then we'll go out and if the artist is dope, we want to support them. So we want to pay for it, but I need to listen to it. So that's why I got that. Then you got the band camps and SoundCloud, all free. You go to SoundCloud artists, people, and I laugh because I hear people say, "Oh, SoundCloud is oh that's dead." Why do we do this? And I mean our culture. Why does
Mm-hmm.
something got to be too old or too dead? Utilize a tool and utilize it. Here's how I utilize it. When you tell me you got an album out and I want to go support it, what happens if it might be a bad month and my gas, especially now, and the gas is just I got to put gas in my tank. I don't have
Right.
a Spotify subscription. So how the
Right.
hell am I going to listen to your album on Spotify?
Right.
Then you telling me YouTube, you ain't really getting paid like that. So I don't even want to listen to artists and stuff on that. Not that I don't want to listen to their music. I just know too much. I know y'all not getting paid from that
Mm-hmm.
much. So why would I want to go support you? I remember I was just telling artists that was DMing me songs. I'm like, do you have something where I can just pay you? Like give you $5 for your single or $3 for your single. And none of them ever hit me back with anything. They just say go stream. How freaking backwards is that as a freaking society, man? So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, yo, this is amazing. You rather not get paid right now and you want me to go stream? It's like stop. I say stop saying it like it's a script. Every time I see someone, oh, I got a new album out all platforms. Please stop saying that, y'all, because what it interprets to someone of the high intelligence level and consciousness is ignorance. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you're just saying that. It's like I'm talking to my child. You're just doing that because your friends are doing it. You're just doing that because that's what everybody says. But when something becomes compromised and you know it's against your culture and your people, you got to turn away from it. SoundCloud, you don't even got to sign up. You don't even have to have an account. I send
Right.
you the link. You clicking on the link, it'll tell you play in the app. You can hit that X and play that damn album without no money spent.
Right.
Now your consumer is getting a chance to listen to your music because I'm banking on the fact that I'm giving you good quality, good substance. So I don't care if you listen to my album. I don't care
Right.
if you hear it. I want you to hear it because I know I go so deep in the hip hop where we had an appreciation for the music. We were willing to drop that money. We used to skip school and go to the stores, listen to the album on the thing in the store and buy it. So
Yeah.
I know we really supported artists, man. That's why we have such an affinity for it. We went out and put down money. You could have brought me a blank CD and said, "Yo, here go that new Jada Kiss the Game Goodbye." Yeah, I'll listen to it, but I'm like, man, I finna go get my copy. I need my physical copy. That's why
Right.
when he said, "Yo, niggas used to just break weed on your last CD was a weed plate."
Right.
Like, if you bought that CD and it wasn't good, that's what it turned. That's why Kiss said that, because when he meant your last CD was a weed plate, he basically saying like people went out to cop your stuff. You might have had a hot single, but that
Right.
album was a was a weed
Yeah.
tray.
They'll be breaking up, and swishing on it. Yeah.
Yeah, so it made artists know like I better put out good albums and anything that's gonna challenge and push the game forward. That's what I'm about. But the innovation and people coming out with different ways of doing that's what I did because I wanted to be consumer friendly and I wanted my audience to be able to come through, have total access to the project, and then yeah, you can buy it if you want, or you can keep coming back and listening to it if you want. But you're not gonna stream it because that's not profitable. It does not make no sense. What business other than the music industry is gonna think that that's acceptable? Go talk to any, go in and talk to any owner that owns any mom and pops, or if you're lucky enough to run across some of these CEOs, go in there and ask them. And I think Ice T said it best recently when he said, "Man, it's like taking a brick of coke, throwing it in the air." And saying how
Hmm.
much money we get. That's
Right.
dude. No one's 0.7
Zero,
streaming.
zero, zero is gone. Everybody around you done did it now.
What
It,
type of
yeah.
sense is that? And I'm telling y'all, and I'm not afraid to say this because I don't care. Because I'm like, look, y'all robbing us. I'm robbing you. I'm trying to
Right.
get in on it. So I had a partner that was doing the farming, doing the streaming farming. I'm not gonna mention his name, but he's out of it now, so it don't matter. He made enough money off of it. I learned a lot of how to put out music through him and
Right.
not necessarily me mimicking or getting his services. He was telling me so much stuff because that's the three different streams that you get from a track. Rather, you need your sound exchange, MLC. All these are different numbers. And also, nobody's doing this. I can guarantee y'all right now, do you have metadata on your files? And
Right.
I guarantee the answer is no. I'm not talking about on the form when you're filling out your ISRC, the
Right.
raw file. Do you guys have metadata on there? And I'll
Right.
explain. We go back to the real Player One days
Yeah.
when we were burning CDs. All fancy terminology, like they say, that beast is a wordsy creature. That's a wordsy creature. It got to be words, 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 words. And you keep changing the words every decade, same freaking stuff, meaning different things. That's the system. When I say
Right.
that beast, that's the system, not necessarily one person. They keep flipping stuff up, changing these words, and it's the same freaking meaning to stuff. When you put the blank CD in the tape deck, it's gonna a CD with no metadata. It's gonna say track 01 to my
Right.
young audience out there. That means you don't got no metadata on that CD. Meaning, if you were to burn that CD onto a computer, it's
It's
gonna
not going
say
to pick
track
up
one,
anything.
track two.
Yeah.
Yeah, track. So metadata means when the real player one, you could click on it and you could put in Pengame Classic symphony track. And
Hmm.
then there's another where you can do a detailed, and then they had ISRC. Oh, we just didn't know what the hell that stuff meant back in the day. You
Right.
have to put all those numbers on the file. Because if
Right.
you just do it on the form, your DSP or whoever your company is can download your shit and they can put it on there
Yeah.
themselves.
And it can't be tracked, and now you can't collect.
Is
You can't get
and
your
now
royalty.
they're going to get their split and you're going to get a
Right.
lower split. So
Right.
that's why you had Snoop saying, "Yo, I sold blah blah blah." I'm not saying that Snoop didn't do this cuz he had people around him, but I know what he was talking about, the money wasn't adding up. And and I know my partner, the one I'm talking about, I'm seeing him with his money. I'm seeing him, not counting his pockets, but I'm just looking at what he's doing. I'm like, this dude's getting paper. So he's doing something right over here. So that's why I adapted that into how I was doing it. And I realized, like, I wasn't getting a heck lot of money, but I realized this is valuable because even if you stream 30,000 streams, y'all, if you ain't doing it like that, you're not even going to see. There's supposed to be a certain amount of money you get, even with 30,000 streams, that none of y'all are getting. because you do not have metadata on those files. And I have software because of my homie. I metadata all my stuff. That's why my whole catalog is not on my website. It's like I'm auditing myself. It's on the Bandcamp because the ISRC numbers are on there. But as far as selling them, I got them off because I need to put those numbers on those individual files because I'm not having that before any DSP touches it or whatnot. So definitely y'all get with me on that. Uh, I didn't
No,
mention it
that's
in I didn't mention it in other interviews because I got some questions. I'm going to mention it in this interview. I am willing to help artists out for with that because I do have software. You know, my time is money. I'm not going to
of
break
course.
nobody over the head, but I definitely will help artists out with the metadata and setting their projects up and putting that stuff on there for them because, I'm not just going to give that information and not try to help someone out with it. So
No, and
that's what I want to say about that.
and that's good. And y'all really need to tap in with that because that goes back into the curiosity, the elements through the knowledge. That was part of when we got to the point of understanding the economics and the distribution and everything like that. Knowledge started getting shared. Now, I think a lot of these young artists have to get back to that there was actually a purpose to this. When you create some type of art, there is nothing wrong with you collecting and monetizing off of the hard work that you've developed. This is you structure a business. I think nowadays what has happened is that they took away the product, so now you sell an invisible art. There's nothing
No
for somebody
tangible
to,
goods.
yeah, no, nothing for somebody to purchase, and then then that's on the consumer side, and then on the artist side, then now you don't even go ahead and really make any money off of it. You can't track how it is, but now they've traded that in where y'all are more okay with getting paid in clout instead of getting paid, with dollars. You know what I mean? And if it don't make dollars, it don't make
It don't
sense.
make sense. And,
So
and, and the weird thing about that is, wouldn't you study your business, y'all, and know like that there is an actual, don't quote me on the numbers, but there is an actual increase the last year on vinyl sales, independent
yes,
artists out there? Do y'all know how much money that increase has been? Independent artists out there? Well, I'm
right.
gonna tell you this. I'm giving game away today. Just look at me because it ain't about nobody not having this game and me all my me I'm doing it, nobody else is doing it. I got to realize I'm an independent artist, been for a while. If you look at how my stuff is set up, there's majors that don't got their stuff set up like I got it. You go to my site, you can purchase that CD vinyl on the website. What that means is you got to be a little creative with how you do it. There's companies that can do your mass production as far as CDs called POD. Same with the clothing. I got the POD on the clothing. Some of the orders, and like my one of one merch.
Right.
Got the hats and stuff like that. But the I got certain products that are a little different than the site, so I'm able to hustle up in person with people that I know, tailor stuff up differently and sell it that way. They feel they get an exclusive product, and that's not on the site. So I know a lot of people see that, they're probably like, yo, but that's not on the site. Purposely, that's the
Hmm.
strategy behind you buy on the site, that's what you're getting. But you want to buy with me, now I can have a physical demand on hand,
Right.
and those people can purchase that, and the exclusive stuff I can handle that because it's going to be a little bit more money. I can handle that and ship that out on my own. Now let's talk about the CDs and vinyls. There's a lot of companies, you guys can do your research, check your own. What I did is the way these websites are, AI probably will change. You can go in there and you can only do it through the site, as far as like if that site offers that product, or if they have a partner like Disc Masters or whatever, then you can automatically set it up. And people, we get so late, like you said, this I really like my brother Defiance and how he's coming because pause
Appreciate it.
for people out there,
You ain't gotta say
pause.
pause. We
I
old
don't do
enough.
that either. I don't
Yeah,
do
we
that
we
either,
oh we
man.
grown men. We know what we
Yeah, I
talking
don't even
about.
do
Yeah.
that. I don't even do that. But I know these people in this audience, and they'll be taking this clip and posting it all day. But anyway, like Jada Kiss said, a real man don't gotta say no. You already know. But
Right.
the we guys got to get creative with it. Find out get the like I go through. I'm just gonna say my situation. I go through Elastic Stage. Elastic Stage is not linked up to my website. So let's take it back to the stupid simple. Okay, I got the thing set up on my website. I know how much the tax is. I know how much the CD costs. Okay, when you buy this, it's gonna send it to my Stripe. It's
Hmm.
gonna have the money in there. Now I can just take the money over to Elastic Stage and purchase your CD myself. Now they're going to send it to you. So see, even though the website wasn't set up like that, because a lot of the websites are partnered with these CD, because it's not a big thing. It's
Right.
not big, so there's not a lot doing it. It'll now someone will see this and probably change it. But I'm like, nah, I'll just put in the order myself.
Right.
That way, my consumer has access to my CDs and my vinyls on demand. Now, that comes to my website, and all you see is CD vinyls. Majors don't even got that set up because it's not. It's not. And it takes a long time to get a CD. Just ordered my daughter a Momo Boyd CD from a group of Infinity Song, autograph, April 8th. Still ain't here.
Nice.
So just gotta be aware, guys, that we in a different climate today. Brother Defiance, no. CD would have been here 3 days ago, back even in the 2000s. It would have been here 3 days flat. But
Right.
there's no distribution hub. They're making this stuff on scratch
Which is
because
the
it's
way
not a
that it should
demand.
be.
Yeah, they're making it from scratch. And mine's is coming Elastic Stages in UK.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't have the CDs on hand. That my last album, I usually show them up close, the packaging and all that, real professional. I'll do an unboxing, but think outside the box, man, and try to get some money in your pocket. That's all I'm saying. Use those PODs for your clothing and stuff. That way you have income all year round because I've sold out of my merch ever since 2021. And the problem I was running into was when I had to refill and had to get more merch. And sometime after my one merch, I went through at least 4 or 5 different refills. That
Hmm.
stuff gets costly and gets taxing. So that POD is beautiful for them to just print it, ship it. You don't gotta touch it. You take your profit, boom. But that's why I said get your own items that you have on deck yourself. Maybe price it a little bit different, make it a little bit more exclusive. Probably, shoot, sign something for them. Give them something, man. Give that audience something that, like in the '90s, that nostalgia. That way, they feel like, man, I really got this because
Something that they got exchanged for
exactly what you
their
said,
dollars.
brother.
Yeah.
We got to take it back to that.
Their
Give people
common exchange.
tangible.
Tangible goods. Classic dropped a lot of game right now for y'all. He basically gave you the blueprint for a business model. Your
Yep.
music is only one stream of income out of an entire business that you could build around your artistry. That's just one stream, you know.
Yep.
And there's multiple brands that you can go ahead and consolidate into this bigger brand under this bigger umbrella. You just have to be wanting to monetize your business. Getting paid in clout is not payment. you
Nope.
know,
No,
you
it's not.
you
And
have to. Yeah, go ahead.
Because it's beyond me,
Yeah,
brother.
yeah, that's
It is
asinine. Yeah,
beyond me. What are we doing? What are we doing? Another mug is putting their grandchildren through college,
right,
and you're happy with just knowing people knowing you, man. We were outside back in the day. We
right.
were out. We were known as soon as we stepped out the house with the neighborhood. So that was enough for us right there. So
Well,
anything, huh?
go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was just saying. So we weren't really clout whores, man, because people were outside more. So you had a reputation in your neighborhood that was good enough, and you go to other cities or whatever like that. I just it just beyond me,
And
man.
especially what you doing, depending on what you're doing, you didn't always want the attention.
No, you
Yeah,
sure didn't.
the
Yeah.
attention used to be kind of shunned because that could be a bad thing too.
Yes, it
You
could.
know,
That's right.
so moving a little low key. Um, Real hustlers kind of understood game, recognized game on that level. So if you moved low key, you kept yourself under the radar. You know, niggas knew why. And so the thing now where you're out there and you're not understanding these business models, because what people don't get is that you can see somebody that has high level of numbers on social media, maybe high engagement, whatever, but that doesn't always translate to dollars. That's
No.
just you don't know what's going on the back end of those numbers. Those numbers are just numbers, but that doesn't mean that same artist can be grinding from check to check, trying to keep their lights on. But you seeing they got a million people, but that million people don't translate to $1 million.
No, it
That's
don't.
just a million people, because a lot of people these days didn't come from an era where music was paid for.
Yeah.
So most their followers are expecting to get something for free. Somebody can have $1 million, do a show, and have 4 people show up. You know? So, I mean, is it a lie? I mean, it
No.
happens.
It does happen. We've seen it recently happen.
Yeah,
We've
so
seen it.
it's kind of like, on that level. And I know we got into a merch and the album streaming. That's some of the core topics we wanted to be able to cover. um Really, what is something I'd say, and I kind of probably know where you would go with this, but where you would want the music to be, the longevity of the music to be remembered by? Because I'm sure, like, if you were an artist that was a big name artist and he got put out there and you were able to make some monstrous, hits, but the music you made wasn't respected by maybe the Nas's, the Rakims, the Big Daddy Kanes, like, for really being, I mean, so what is it that is important to you to leave behind in your music legacy of this game, and incorporate also the business, economics, whatever you want. What would you
Yeah,
say?
just it's solid and growing with the times that we're in. So it really, where I'm at, I wouldn't really, Nas and those guys, they just inspired me.
Right,
So I don't really need their approval at this point
right.
anymore, and plus I've spoken, Cool Rockski's like a big brother of mine. We talk, like, I've had enough people tell me, yo, you're dope. You're good enough to know, like, okay, from legends, legendary people. So that question's already been answered, as far
There
as
you
that's
go.
concerned. And I'm glad, and I'm more than honored. They know every time I'm more than honored to get that from those guys. But as far as my impact on the people, that's more so where I would like to go with that, is influencing uh business. And I know you hear it a lot like some artists that have the money and they're able to push that market of independency, but not from the conscious mind state. See, we're talking just black owned, this,
Right,
that. But if the system is rigged and you don't know why, and you don't know that you're actually under attack within the system. You see the thing about the KKK the other day being in charge of a black fund, and they're taking the fund and funding their own stuff
I
to
didn't hear
prop
that
up.
one, but
It's this
I'm
is in
not
a state
surprised.
they're I forget what state it's in. These people were hired on a government level to take care of a minority or black issue, and everybody was KKK,
Mm,
and they were brought in. They were basically sitting there listening to your freaking enemy tell you, please help us with this. They turned around and took that money and funded their stuff.
right,
So
right,
when we see so much unraveling, and I know from the studies and from the stuff down that this thing is going to go down like a sinking ship,
right.
why am I going to be focusing on what the system around is catering to? So I
Absolutely.
think that the conscious element of it, okay, yeah, black owned, that's cool. How? How do you get black owned? Like I told y'all, how? People don't want to share that stuff on a mass scale because, oh, I don't want to tell too much people to charge the game's not free. Well, everybody can make money today, and I look at it like this: if you're so proud on your work, okay, yeah, that person can have the same strategy or not, but if they don't got the music, they're not gonna. so they're not going to gravitate to them. So I'm like, I already have my thing going. I got supporters that have been people supporting for a decade, purchasing every time, and I
Right,
think the most money I've gotten from an album is $80. And I know you've
right.
heard some people get 30,000 or whatever, but I'm not known like that. We
Yeah,
just
it is
talking,
what it is.
yeah, $80 for a project. My Metaverse album, somebody paid $80 for that.
That's what's
So
up.
that's more in streaming than I've
Right.
gotten in streaming in
When
months.
streaming, you're gonna get point zero 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 four
Ridiculous,
for three, like some crazy.
ridiculous, bro. So I'm
Yeah,
like, how? How do we take the question you ask? How do we get there? And I just think that is the part about it that I want to resonate with the people, with the elevation that we are in, the shift, the world that we're in, and still be moving forward with my message. I don't want people to look behind and be like, that was a message of the past. He didn't kind of keep up. Like what he's saying doesn't translate with today. I
right.
wanted to still translate today,
Stay
and when
relevant.
people come back and listen,
Yeah.
I feel like my work or my catalog or whatever is gonna hit like a Renaissance painter,
Mm.
meaning that I
Love
could be
that.
dead and gone and it's catch fire, and all of a
Right.
sudden my kids is reap because everything is going to them. Got everything set up for them. So if my
Right.
music all of a sudden gets hot, like really hot, and I'm dead and gone, they getting the money. So that's why I just keep working, keep working, keep working, keep working, and putting it together because it may not even pop while I'm alive, but I'm gonna keep giving it that intense quality, that intense refinement. Keep the knowledge in there because I have a unique situation. I have a skill set. I have mentors, people around that are industry, that are in the industry. Not very many people can hit up somebody that's close to them and they've
Right.
sold 5 million records. I can do that. So when you got people around you that have sold millions and millions of records and they're your closest people, then it's all about my mental is legacy. Rather I'm famous or not, it's legacy.
Bro,
Every
it's the
time I
same
put,
thing. What did Pac say? He said, "I might not be the one to change the world, but I'll
yes,
spark the mind
spark the mind
that
that changes the
changes the
world.
world."
Exactly. And I know that we, I know who we are. I
Mm,
know where we come from. I know
absolutely.
what is in our DNA. I know without going too in depth, I just know that we are not, we are from a different vibration and different, and flowed on a different frequency. So knowing that, I automatically have a responsibility. I'm not getting caught up on what this realm or this 3D or this
Yeah,
existence
this
that we're in.
density. Yep.
We're visitors in this existence. And I know people thinking like, but what do you mean? I'm just gonna put it like this. This frequency, we're not foreign to this world, but we
Hmm.
are foreign to this frequency. We are
Absolutely.
foreign to this vibration. We weren't on this
We
vibration. We
weren't
weren't
this
in this
low.
frequency. We
Yeah.
were lowered. We were dropped,
Yeah,
and
we dropped.
somehow we got trapped. So that's why I'm saying no. We're not foreign to this world, but we existed on a higher plane in a different vibration and frequency where that's why you can't explain the phenomenons and anomalies and things, structures and stuff that are built that can't be duplicated.
That's
uh
why we don't conform so easy because it doesn't make sense and it doesn't resonate, and the rules that have been laid out by man does not really resonate with our way of thinking, life, consciousness. It rubs
Everything.
us wrong. So we have a hard time being complacent to what they design. Now, that's many of us for the most part, but I will say in some senses, some of us do other, and not all skin folk are kinfolk. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I think we're starting to see that as a society right now because here's what they say in the news in the sports world. Well, the consensus, when a consensus of any population, white, black, Asian, when you go to your consensus and it's not like consciously like
Hmm.
evolved to the point where hey, we got to do this.
Right.
You're doomed.
Right.
If the consensus is ignorant as far as the outcome or their belief,
Right.
the system won, the game won.
Right.
They won. They got you. They won because you are totally compliant. You are totally underneath the spell. You are totally wrapped into what they want, and that's what I'm seeing. So I'm hearing shift, shift, shift. but I'm not seeing. I'm hearing people are waking up and they're bringing up topics.
They're
They're
using
confused.
the buzzwords. They're using the
Yeah,
words,
they're
the
using the
buzzword.
words.
They're the work though, the
That's the
actual
part.
work that sometimes that they haven't fully comprehended behind the scenes what that means, what
Yes.
the actual work looks like. It sounds good and it has flavor to it and it's trendy, but it doesn't really go ahead and commit to what actually gets the results, you know.
A lot
And
of shadow work, and that's what people don't
a lot of
understand.
shadow
When
work.
you guys come into your, those of you that I always try to tell people now, what does that look like? The brother said, "What is defiance? What does that look like? How does that steps towards that?" And I always try to give people examples of that and thought patterns and thought process of how that type of mind works, so they can work to it. Because when somebody's on that journey, when you reach a certain point, and I've listened to great master teacher. I think brother Kabah is still
Mhm.
alive. He's one of the ones that's still alive. But Bobby Hemmett, Delbert Blair,
Yeah, of
all these
course.
other guys that I've reached. I go back to that school of
Yeah,
hard knocks.
the
You have Dr.
legendary,
Ben.
yeah,
Yeah,
Dr.
all
Ben,
what's
yeah,
his name? Phil
Dr.
Valentine.
Satima, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, Ivan Sedermer, whatever.
yeah,
All these guys,
yeah,
man, and these guys. One thing I noticed that is relevant in their message in this particular thing. You cannot in the Matrix. Remember that Matrix line. You cannot free a mind too soon or too late. That's why in Star Wars, Yoda didn't want to train Luke because he said he was too old. The
hmm
mind has a hard time. They have been putting this stuff in front of us all this time.
all this
So
time.
if you're late in the game, you using the words, but there's a lot of shadow work. And what
Mm,
I mean by that is the way it was explained to me, and you guys can check out a plethora of those lectures. There's hundreds of them that these
right.
brothers have put down since the 90s. These
Mm,
brothers have been saying this stuff. Each time that you're bullied in school as a kid or whatever, you get a persona or you get something in you to be brave. That's a shadow
mm-hmm.
because that's not normally who you were. You had to get courage and go, and you might beat that bully. Now
Yeah,
you got, okay, I can always go to that. As you get older, you may not have to live in that mode anymore. Now you're
no,
mature. That shadow don't want to leave. It has grown in intelligence. It
right.
don't want to leave you. So it's gonna do whatever it can, put north, face, anything to stay relevant in your life. Those are things that you have to eliminate before you can even the words that y'all are using and all that. There is work behind that.
And there's
You basically have to, when they say this, I basically learned all this stuff for 9, 10 years from these different master teachers and stuff, and I
right.
turned around and came right back into a circle, y'all. And guess what that circle was? Me in the
Me.
mirror.
Yep.
I'm learning everything, and I'm like, okay, this ain't right, this ain't right. F this system, blah 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 blah. All that to come back around and be like, I'm the one. I
You,
got work. I
you
got
also your
shadow
main
work too.
competition.
Yep, I'm like, because
Yeah.
I've been went in a circle and realized, oh, so I have control of my reality. Then I
Mhm.
looked at who I am and who I was, and I'm like, that is why they got me. That's why I have been, because I was so influenced by what was going on around me. Cause and then I used my artistry. I knew how I was influenced, so it helped me pick the points because I've documented a lot of my life in the rhymes. So
Right.
it helped me able to pinpoint these point in times and work on this shadow work. Work on, how I'm gonna deal with women. Now I got a daughter. How,
Right.
how I'm gonna talk with young men. Now I have a 2-year-old son.
Right.
It's helped me deal with myself in these areas and fix these things. And the shadow never goes away, or the ego. The ego and the shadow, two different things, but it's still the same type of gripping energy. The
They they
ego does
they
never
they
go.
love the same consumption level of
Rap,
consumption.
yep, rap and the ego go
Yeah.
hand in hand. That's
Hand
why
in.
it's really hard for me to be growing. Like this album, One of One, was like that. It was hard for me to do because when you hear those rhymes, like people battling and they're saying, that's ego. That's
Right.
ego driven. And that's a good thing. You need ego when you're competitive. But
Yeah.
when you are high vibrational, ego is the enemy. So
Right.
that's conflicting.
Right.
So I had to tell myself, when I do an album now, I'm doing it like a movie. My album is the movie. The songs are episodes. So if I can train myself to be like, okay, I'm gonna talk a little bit about, I'm gonna be a little bit braggadocious on this one
Right.
because I'm thinking of it as a script. It helps me disengage from that and not keep that persona where you see some rappers where you see them in public, they still got that persona because that shadow has grown and don't want to go. It
Right.
becomes the person becomes the host, and the
Mm-hmm.
actual thing that's living and breathing is the damn shadow. That's why
Right.
you see some people are like, man, I'm a different person now, or I've had an epiphany or whatever. They are right. They're
Right.
telling the truth because what fueled them doesn't fuel them anymore. They needed a different persona to be the industry icon that they are. They needed that persona because that they were in a trauma situation where maybe they had to sell records to support their family. That's a trauma
Right.
situation. That's
So,
like, hey, you don't do this, you ain't making no money. We need those dancing records. We need those twerking.
yeah,
You better get out there
classic
and
way
make
back.
us some money.
That's when you living in survival mode too.
Yup. And you have to then now you're making this music. I know Cardi B and I love her to death as a person when she got certain views.
Right.
Will not let my daughter listen to her music, hell no.
Of
But
course.
guess what? Neither will Cardi B.
Right.
Cardi B won't let her children listen to her music. So why the hell are y'all? I'm not trying to. Cardi, I love you, girl. Love you. Do your thing. Make your money. I'm just using this as a reference point as
It
far
makes
as
sense. Steve Jobs wouldn't give his kids iPhones.
there you go. So see, that's what I'm talking about, y'all. Like, when are we gonna advance like that? Because that's the main thing. That's the thing that we need to catapult us in to where we're going as far as this shift. And you can't look at the world today and tell me differently. I mean, and we have a responsibility for the grid, meaning that anyone that's I'm gonna make it layman's term as possible, so
Go
we
ahead.
don't have to say no allegedly and all that stuff.
All right.
Anybody tied to the what happened is the people that are tied to the grid that are vibrating highly receive all the downloads, receive all the frequencies and stuff first. They serve as antennas for the rest of the community on the planet. So being those type of people, when they go into a room, they are naturally radiating and naturally bringing out a higher vibration. Why do you think they try so hard to block out sun and to do all this stuff? Because sun is sending, and those people are being used as an antenna. That's why I say, when people say, "Oh, God," no, there's definitely a God because of the way things are scientifically manufactured and working
Right.
behind the scenes and in silence. There ain't no way you can tell me there ain't no God, especially
Absolutely.
the unveiling of our people and the unveiling of what was taken and what
Right.
we've had and where we come from and how we have awakened from this sleep and all this stuff going on and timelines manipulated. There is definitely a God. It's just that the science part was so stripped from us with not no science in church that we looked at that stuff and demonized it or just weren't interested in it when it is a part of who we really are. We were the scientists. That's the point. We were the alchemists. We were all these people and all these influencers that they had in the science community from early days till now have had our pamphlets and studies that our ancestors have laid down. So looking at that stuff, I'm just saying when the general public gets enough of that, it's hard for the people that are I'll call it gridlocks, to communicate because you cannot communicate with somebody like Morpheus said, a brain that's still hooked
Mm-hmm.
up. We kind of got to let people live their own and come up on their own because if you are wake disrupt the mind too soon, they're not going to be able to perceive the reality around them and they're going to revert back. This is this
Right.
BS. He's talking about this crazy stuff. I don't believe in that. Man, that stuff is crazy, man. I believe in church and God, and that's two separate things, y'all.
And you know
Not the
what?
same.
And that's fine. And I think people have a problem, interpreting between what they believe and what they know.
There you go.
But go ahead and give a breakdown of your contact and the website and everything. The best stuff to be able to reach you. This my man was cooking, and
I know,
yeah, and
bro.
that's what we came here to do. We didn't come
And
here
you and
to feed you some light food. We came here to give you substance. You leave with a full meal.
that's why I love this, bro. I love this. Need to do this more. That's because I'm such a lab rat. I'm really a scientist when it comes to how I'm doing my music, man. And I have a tendency of sheltering off, and I need to communicate more because I can't expect anyone to just listen to an album of mine without a study guide or without a
Right.
reference point. I have to communicate. So when people are getting on these shows and giving content, I have to because it is so deeply entrenched to how the ideas are coming. It's going to go over people's heads. So the best way to get in contact with me, y'all, is at categoryother.com, and that's OTHA. So not other, but other. So categoryother.com. I'm at Pengame Classic on all social media platforms. And that's pretty much how you guys can get a hold of me and reach me. I'm love to contact people and to communicate because I look at it like this: if we don't communicate with each, we are our own businesses. And
Hmm.
every business out there, and the way I view it mentally, there is a form that someone can get in contact with someone at a business, and someone's supposed to answer and reply back to whatever they feel, if they rather like the product or they don't. So I feel like I am my own business and product, so I need to communicate and I need to know what's going on and how people are receptive to my stuff. So I'm communicating differently online. It's more like someone that's working what you call it, a customer service line or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I'm more like that when I'm online, but it's actually me, the one talking. So, but that's the gear that I shift in because I've worked customer service. So I'm used to doing that communicating that way. So you guys can always hit me up and ask me things. And like I said, I'm gonna indulge a little bit more on this metadata thing. And if anyone needs help, just reach out. I'll definitely help you out as much as I can on that. Make sure you're set up right.
All right, that sounds excellent, man. Y'all heard it first over here on an elevated exchange, Defiance with Pen Game Classic. Great conversation, and yes, stay on, brother. I'm gonna go. Yeah, we'll keep y'all in tune with anything else that pops up with this brother.